Some places don't open for the light-hearted. They open for the young ones who carry more weight than their years can hold. The garden that waits for the weary. There were two of them that morning, Saraya, 10 years old and trying her best to be brave, and her little brother Nico, only 7, walking the ridge path with steps too quiet for children so young. Ever since the winter sickness took their grandmother, the woman who raised them, loved them, steadied them, the siblings had moved through Briarvine Ridge like shadows stitched together. Saraya kept her jaw tight, the way she did when she refused to cry. Nico held her hand with both of his, as if afraid she might drift away like smoke. Neither spoke. Their grief walked with them. They wandered farther than they meant to, past the old sycamore where their grandmother used to tell stories, past the creek that once carried their laughter downstream, past the fence line that grown folks said marked the edge of where the mountain mines its own mysteries. That's when they saw it, a gate woven from living vines, braided so thick and green it looked like the mountain had grown a doorway just for them. Dewdrops clung to the vines like tiny lanterns, and behind that gate, a warm, golden glow, pulsing like a heartbeat. Saraya froze. Nico squeezed her hand. The vines loosened, just a breath, as if recognizing the shared burden the two children carried between them. Then the tiny gardeners appeared, no taller than a thumb, with skin the deep brown of rich earth and hair curled like new tendrils. They moved among the blossoms with tools no bigger than sewing needles. Their eyes sparkled like morning dew. Their humming wrapped around the children like a lullaby meant for the grieving. One of the tiny gardeners paused, looked up at Saraya and Nico, tilted its head, and the gate opened. The moment they stepped through, the air changed, warmer, softer, like stepping into a memory of summer. The ground beneath their feet was a carpet of moss glowing faintly under their toes. Flowers taller than Saraya's shoulders leaned toward them, petals shimmering with colors she didn't have names for. A cluster of blossoms unfurled as they passed, releasing a soft glow. Inside each bloom, tiny flickers of light rose like fireflies. When Nico reached out, one drifted to his palm and settled there, pulsing gently. It wasn't just light, it was comfort. An echo of their grandmother's hand resting on their backs during storms. Farther in, they found a pool so still it looked like polished glass. But when Saraya peered into it, she didn't see her reflection. She saw moments she tried to bury, her grandmother's last smile, the nights she held Nico while he cried, the way she tried to be strong even when she felt hollow. The pool didn't judge. It simply showed what the heart carried. Nico tugged her sleeve. In his reflection, he wasn't alone. Saraya stood behind him, her hand on his shoulder. The garden was showing them the truth. They had each other. The tiny gardeners led them to a clearing bathed in golden light. At its center stood a great flowering tree, its trunk wide as a cottage, its branches stretching like open arms. The blossoms on this tree glowed from within, each one holding a swirl of color that moved like a living memory. A tiny gardener approached Saraya with a blossom cupped in its hands. Inside the petals, she saw her grandmother, not sick, not fading, but laughing the way she used to, head thrown back, eyes bright. The memory wasn't painful here, it was warm, whole. Another gardener brought a blossom to Nico. Inside his, he saw himself curled against Saraya on the night they lost everything, and he saw her holding him, steady and strong. The tree whispered without words, "Your sorrow is real, but so is your love. Both can live here." Two paths unfurled from the clearing. One led deeper into the garden where peace hummed like a lullaby. The other led back toward the vine-woven gate where the world waited, harder but theirs. A tiny gardener touched Soraya's hand. Another touched Nico's. The meaning was clear. Stay, and the garden will hold you forever. Return, and you will carry its strength with you. Soraya looked at Nico. Nico looked at Soraya. For the first time in weeks, he spoke. Just one word, soft as a leaf falling. Home. Soraya nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Not from sorrow this time, but from release. They turned toward the path leading back. The tiny gardeners bowed. The great tree rustled its blossoms in a sound like a blessing. And as the children stepped through the gate, the vines closed gently behind them, waiting for the next weary hearts who might one day need its magic. And so the children wandered back, their shadows soft, their hearts made new. For sorrow bends, but does not break when love walks with you, 2 by 2. The garden sleeps behind the vines, its magic waiting, still and true. For every weary soul who comes will leave with light they never knew.